Today I'm going to introduce a database work we have done related to the COVID-19. And this video is showing part of our work. It's actually for the global development of the total confirmed cases. And it is actually online and live. You can see the changes of seriousness or ranking of each country's epidemic along the timeline. And you can see actually US now become the biggest circle in the world. It's also reflect its proportion of the numbers, of US total confirmed cases. On January 23rd, Wuhan was locked down. When human-to-human transmission of COVID-19 was confirmed, all of us quarantined at home had a burning desire to know the facts, the reasons and situation. We tried to get the information from different sources. All this information we could find is over here on the screen. But all the mainstream media look the same. They use text, map, and charts to express, the information, the data. Here is normally you can see this kind of thing, the map. For this map, we believe this kind of map covered by red cannot actually accurately describe the data. First off, see that left bottom corner, that's Tibet. Tibet has only one confirmed case so far, but it looks really overwhelming because it's huge area. Secondly, according to this map, when the epidemic gets more serious, the red gets darker and darker. We actually were worried about the whole map of China would be covered by dark red a month later. This form actually implies there is no place, even the mountain area and the remote area is safe. No place is safe. It's scary.
But we believe somewhere should be safe.
Yes.
It could be survived.
Yeah.
Actually, it is.
And this line chart looks very weak visually. The visual style does not fit the content. In our opinion, this line is too weak to represent an ongoing, a terrible breakout. It has no sense of emergency. And this is very simple, just a number for the total confirmed cases. The first line is the total case, and the third line is like today's new cases. For most of people, it is hard for them to actually get the sense of emergency from these numbers visually. Benford said, a visualization should convey the unique property of data set it presents. We believe these forms, the normal forms, are inefficient for information perceptions. And these regular approaches cannot draw viewers' attention to the sense and substance of the data. Data graphical form actually should present the quantitative content. Sorry for my twisted tongue. And also, data graphical form should help people actually reason about quantitative information. We think we should bear in mind communication-minded visualization and aesthetics. So we knew that given the unknown, unpredictable nature of the virus, we weren't the only ones stuck in this bind. However, we thought we could be the earliest information provider using data. So that's one way.
That's Sam started the data collection in my apartment in Guangzhou. Then, because we don't have a formal data source.
Yeah.
So he has to collect data like this.
Yeah. In the beginning, that was January 23rd, 2 days before Chinese New Year. We found in China CDC and State Health Department website, there's no data. So we had to go some website like Dr. Ding Xiang's site to dig out the data from tons of news. published by the government. And later on, fortunately, Townsend News found us and started collaboration with us.
Tencent. Do you know Tencent?
Townsend News, the Townsend.
Yes, we know.
Yeah.
So they gave us, some APIs so we can get JSON data from them. And that actually freed a lot of, hours of daily data collecting work. And it's really a huge boost, for our efficiency. So this is the first data visualization we did for this epidemic. This is a total confirmed cases versus the places. You can see Wuhan, Shanghai, and Beijing over there. Wuhan, of course, is the biggest at that time. And the size of the circle actually represents the proportion of each place in the global data, And you can see also the ranking of it. And when this graph was published on mainstream media late January, it got more than 2.5 million views. And we also received thousands of complaints. People are complaining about they cannot see it clearly because most of the users actually see this thing on their phone, and the quality of the graph was not so good because
people
of the
curse us. People curse us.
They curse
badly.
us.
They hate it. They hate it.
They hate us. Yeah. And however, from the complaining, we could feel people's strong willingness to see it clearly. And this is another way of visualizing. This is the first one is called circle layout, and this one we're using stacked graph layout. And this is for daily new cases along the timeline for each places. And this is also static. The first one was static, and this is also static. But this one gives a different sense. This gives a sense of trend of the confirmed cases development. So Fan actually put this in her self-media daily and got a lot of
feedbacks. Then once people look at it, they just leave lots of the comments. They love to watch it.
And they are guessing, they imagine what the shape would look like finally when everything is settled down. They say it can be a hat, and some others say it can be a pagoda. And from people's responses, we could feel they really like to get involved. Their comments and retweets actually really told us they want to see it now and want to see it in the future. They want to see the development.
Yeah.
So these comments are really part of our work because readers' thoughts and emotions involved with visualization dynamically. So one of Fan's friends sent her this. So people didn't lose their humor, during this terrible time. So actually every day we had to manually generate one of these graphs. And we're tired of it because the designer wants a stable visual design. So she doesn't have to change the text, the content, the layout every day because the data actually change every day. And engineer is lazy. Like me, I don't want to do anything. I want a robot to the data, drive the creation of these maps, of these shapes. So we thought an automatically updated website would be a good thing to do. It would be ideal and we could get popular.
Yeah, I make it every day manually.
Yeah, I generate the graph and Fan put the the labels, all kind of that, and she had to because the height changed every day, so she had to adjust that.
The layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to change it every day and think about how to make it look better.
And in the beginning, you can see we actually Fan using the red to express the seriousness. But later on, she thought that's too scary, so she changed it to the gray.
Yeah, after I changed it into gray, then people said, "Oh, are you feel sad?"
Yeah.
Something like that. So I don't know which color is suitable.
Yeah. So we wanted, make a new design and put a timeline and allow people to slide on the top of clicking. You can click on to get data, and you can slide the bar. So this is actually the design of our new interfaces. So when you slide the bar, you can see the changes of every day, the trend. And the biggest circle used to be Wuhan, the first one. And we didn't show here. Currently, the biggest circle, and you saw in the video, is US. So here's a video actually show that again, and also another work, the stream graph.
We filled the information into 4 areas. This one is enclosure diagram, and it's about the total cases of every country.
And it actually took us like 3 weeks, 5 people to publish the first interactive platform. And as you can see here, and at that time, 5 of us actually spread out all over China, even 1,000 miles away from each other. And some of us not even see each other yet as of today. And you can actually scan the code to get to the website and see 3 things, 3 pages there.
Yeah.
And this design is majorly actually for mobile devices, but support all major browsers, for desktops.
And this one is global one, and I really love to watch it every day. I think it's much better than mainstream media, because it's very straightforward to tell me what's going on today. That's today. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you can click on it to get the information. And on that website, and you can check out, the US data for each state. It may be slow when you use it the first time, but the second time should be fine.
Yeah.
Yep. So at least my mother-in-law, she understands it almostly. She uses it every day. And the parents, the friends actually, let their kids use it to understand the spread of the virus. And the kids actually like it, the interactive screen.
Yeah, it was a surprise. It's a surprise. Some students, some friends, they just take photo, share with me. Then it's all about their kids playing on our interface.
Yeah, the parents like it because it's very hard for them to explain, why the kids had to stay home all the time. So that's probably tell them why. And there are a lot of users use it every day in the beginning. One of my friends used it for his work because he's sending his employees at the beginning of the academic to go on business trip, and he used this to see which place I can send my employees.
I shared it to my American friends in Boston, but at that moment they don't care about it. I think at that moment they just believe the virus is far away from the United States.
Yeah, but now it's a totally different story, and this is the user are using it. And our website actually got a lot of attention, when we publish it. And so far, there are close to 40,000 unique visits. And interestingly, this site got more visits when the epidemic got serious in China, and got less visits when the epidemic in China got eased. And every time we published a new page or feature, like we turned from static to interactive, and we got more hits. But it's too bad that no mainstream media like to embed this site in their website, and they don't like to host it unless people actually in English world knows about it. And so far, two major groups are there are 89% from China and 4.2% are from US. There are two major groups who are using this website. So from this daily new cases trend in China, actually really fits the situation in China. In the beginning, a lot of people use it, like the epidemic. In the beginning, it's very serious, but now it's eased off. And the left side is for China, and the right side is for global daily new cases. And looking back, we actually started this project when we were at the most panicking, most confusing moment. And at least this project gave us a quick way to check on the epidemic by a bird view of the data. We could understand the status and the trend statistically. It is more direct, and better than the information, tons of information we got from the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm. I think right now, maybe the people outside of China would spend a longer time than us to watch it.
Yeah, that's
to
why.
Observe it.
Yeah, that's why actually the number from US from 2% to 4%, down to 4% now.
And overall, still you can. It tells that the Russian and the Brazil number is dramatically enlarged. Not enlarged, just
increased.
Increased. Yeah.
Russian and okay, that's it. And over there is our the website for Z-Lab. This project is actually over there, and along with some other cool project we have done. Check it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fan and Sam. Let's all just give our appreciation and gratitude for their sharing their great work with us. So we'll move into a period where we can have a conversation, and we'll have various questions for you. And the format for asking those questions is to either you can post your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and I will recognize you and you can unmute and ask your question directly. So whichever you prefer. So formulate your questions and get them ready. And that's how we will frame the conversation. I'm going to start with a question around one of the things that really struck me about and again, it's really fantastic work. Thank you for sharing it. And it's so we're so desperate to get more and more information. It's so great to see examples of ways that we can really engage with the data, and that the interface is consistent with the environment that we're actually in. But I was struck by your characterization of the feedback that you got on some of the early iterations of the graph, and how people were really wanting to see not just the data for now, but also the data for into the future. which is such a tricky thing because we don't know what the future holds. And we can predict what's happening in the future, but that doesn't even guarantee what's going to happen into the future.
Right.
And so my question is around that. As a designer and engineer collaborator, how do you deal with that very human response of wanting to know what's going on in the future, but not really being able to deliver that kind of certainty?
It's hard to understand. It's hard to
Well,
answer.
I can. It's a very good question. I'm an engineer, right? From my side, what I can do is, because I have this API to get data, what I can do is to make. I actually create a robot on my server to get the data automatically, and actually the data got updated hourly. So, after I've done that, I can just, lay back and just see it grow. And it's actually the beauty of this thing, of this project. You never know what's going to happen next. Like right now, I'm looking at the data from US, the daily increase number. I was, because I pay a lot of attention to US, and that's somewhere I worried. I loved. Every day is over 30,000, and I was like, what's going on? But I never know what's going to happen next. So as an engineer, I can do is, I give more support for the designer. Do what the designer wants, and also maybe give more, create more pages to, for example, for US detailed data. Just because I care, so I made a page for US and some other countries, especially. And I don't know what's in the mind of the designer, and it's Fan.
I think the uncertainty you mentioned here, it's about many things, right? So fortunately, we got a frame there. We don't know what exactly the graphic could be changed finally. But right now we have a circle or a stream graph that's changing every day. No matter how big the change will be, the graphics could be controlled in that ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that frame.
Yeah, that's it. That's for uncertainty.
Great, thank you. Yeah, one of the things I like about the interface as it is to see it over time. I think each individual can use that time series and that history to make their own prediction and to make, to make of it what they want. And I think it's a nice invitation to do that. I'm going to ask what I see as a follow-up question here from Hui. Have you thought about making a prediction based on the trend and displaying that prediction as well?
Wow.
No, not actually. We want to record the history. That's what I wanted to do. But for prediction, I'm not able to do it because I'm not good enough to do that. So maybe we can work with other people to do that, or some people can use that to predict.
Yeah.
So I never think I can do the prediction. I never try to do it. Just record the data.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Jeffrey, I see your hand is up. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Yeah, very, very excellent work. I just have a question about I guess your partnership, because I always found it really intriguing and inspiring that you guys are, a married couple, and manage to do all this work together. And you definitely joke about it all the time. But I was just wondering if maybe you could go into, talk about that experience a little more in terms of maybe difficulties or just how you began that relationship in that regard, at least. Yeah.
You want to start? Okay. Yeah, I think I already said this several times. We fight a lot. We have different brain. She's a designer artist, and because designer artist has all the ideas. I admire that, but sometimes, when you've done one thing for her, she said, "Can you change this?" I was like, "Damn, why didn't you tell me earlier? I already designed this because architect also designs softwares, and it's not like you cannot change like that. It's not like that. So that's why we fight. But the good side is we actually respect each other's work, because I think designer artists, they're great. They have all the ideas here. They're brilliant. I like to get used to it.
Hi, I have my answer here. I think it's to collaborate with a programmer, you got to know how to motivate them. That means how to inspire them. I always talk with him, and I wish I can motivate him to do this and to believe this project could be meaningful to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I'm gonna.
Disappointed?
No. I'm gonna ask a question from Sven. Have you had any problems with the Chinese government not wanting you to publish this information?
Kinda.
That's why I wish if there is any English media would like to embed it and allow more people to watch it, to use it. So far, it's just uploaded in can be watched on our personal website. So that's why the audience is very limited. Actually, I just want to help people to understand the situation, to understand what's going on.
We didn't get direct, hardship from the government, but from the main media,
this kind of there are some other teams in China still working on data visualization for this thing, but we all of the projects are kind of customized, not formal stuff,
Yeah, we try to avoid the censorship, just we are very careful.
Yeah.
Try to, because we need to live here, and
I think so. That's why we just realize the data from the mainstream media.
From the government, actually. The data is from government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Aaron,
yeah.
I want to inject something here. I have just opened up the actual website, and for anyone who hasn't gone to the link that both Richard and I have provided to the actual project online, do it. It's absolutely stunning to look at this, a little bit better quality than what's coming through Zoom. So I urge people to look at it on the actual site.
Thank you. The website is slow because we only have enough money for 2 megabyte, bandwidth. So that's that. But be patient, and you will get the result.
Io, you had your hand up. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Jeffrey.
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff. So it's a long time.
Okay. And also I saw, well, the name was listed as 1+6, had your hand up, and would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Probably forgot unmute.
I don't see them here, so maybe they stepped away for a moment. Let me ask a question from Yasmin. First of all, beautiful work. There is such a responsibility both in facts and psychology for this type of work. Does that type of responsibility feel daunting? The emotional weight of this work, especially when dealing with data that impacts lives, how do you manage that?
Good question.
I think get the point.
Go ahead. I don't.
I think it's hard. Actually, in the early time, I don't have a very clear idea of what the data graph should to be. And so I suggest we're going to use a very simple, we're going to limit our parameter. We got to limit our parameters, cannot to make a multiple dimension stuff. So, and I just picked up enclosure graph and yeah, enclosure diagram and stacked graph. Yeah, to try to use it. In that way, I do some redesign, do some refining.
I think the question.
Oh.
About people's lives. Aaron, can you repeat the question again?
Sure, yeah. It's so there's a responsibility in facts and psychology for this type of work. That feel daunting given that you're dealing with data that literally impacts lives.
Yeah, how to answer it? Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually for me. It's when I develop this and see the number jump, or the circle get bigger, or for some part of the country or the world, it's actually yes. There's some psychological feeling, especially actually I created another page. I didn't publish it at all. That's a death rate and death number. I didn't publish it. I just use it for my own curiosity. The color is different. It's a little bit pink red, and it's actually every time I see it, it's like it's so sad. It's I forgot who said this. It's not like 200,000 people died once. It's one people died 200,000 times. The life lost. All the emotional thing. It's sad. I don't know how I manage that, but
it's a really good question.
Yeah.
I want to say, and we are living in Beijing, and it's hard to us as a designer. It's hard to us to speak something directly. I think what I can do.
Yeah.
I wish just need people know to say it. That's what I can do.
Great, thank you. I see IO is back with the hand raised. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. I got jumped off for a second. I wanted to ask a question about, your designer, engineer, visual person, engineer, and you're making these works that a lot of them have to do with aesthetics, have to do with sort of the way the work is presented visually. Can you speak a little to the responsibility that takes, and also to maybe some of the things that you found in terms of data that you could present in one way that you might not be able to present in another, and the significance of that. So, for example, with the COVID-19 charts, right? There's certain information that can be presented, or there's a certain aesthetic appeal that has versus, let's say, just a line graph. And what information is lost or what information is gained when you start applying these ideas of design and aesthetics, not only to this project, but to some of the other projects that you've worked on as well?
What information was the last? Okay, do you mean the different approach to dealing with the same data set?
The different approach to dealing with the same data sets, the difference in the ways that people perceive it, right? Or the way that people interact with it. So for example, children playing with the bubbles, right? Means something because they don't play with the line graphs like that, right? And because of that, is there something about the bubbles that maybe provides a different insight, or that obscures certain data that allows for that sort of interaction? Because I think that it's not only that you have the ability to reach out, right, in these different, with these different ways of visualization, right, but also that does something to the individual or to the audience.
I think that the kids like the bubbles because it's probably more interesting, more interesting than the stream graph. And the bubble can fly, all over the place. And, they can see the bubble, grow, moving positions.
And now they are asking when this bubble will break out. Yeah, they're asking when this bubble could be.
And I have some friends. They are adults. The adults like the stream graph better. They think, but two different visualization actually did different things, like you said. The bubble one is for the total confirmed cases, of course, and you can see the proportion and the ranking. They moved. Once China is the biggest in the middle, and then it moved, here, and now it's hard to find it. And U.S. used to be, hard to see, and now it's so huge. And Japan used to be big, and now you cannot find it. And but as of what was lost, for actually they both have some disadvantage, I believe. Like for example, for the stream graph, the trend thing, when one place is too big, like Wuhan, when it's too big, it's hard to see other places.
Wuhan is dominated. Yeah, it's a good question, I think.
So that's why we actually separate the stream graph to 4 different categories. One is China. You can see the overall Chinese thing. And the second is China without Wuhan. So you can clearly see other provinces. And also, we have a global and global without China. Of course, these two, for now, it's actually almost the same because the data from China is relatively very small now. But it used to be China is so huge. So without China, you can see other countries' number more clear.
I think why we started this project, that's because I'm tired of the maps and line charts. It's not good for perception because people don't have interest, don't have curiosity. People not curious about this kind of graph. So we do this just as a alternative stuff for the it's just an alternative solution for people. If you're tired of that, look at this. Then maybe people would like to explore it more.
Yeah, we saw the two ways we used were better, to express data, and for the disadvantage of each of them, we actually put the interactive stuff there. So hopefully that can, just make up, for that.
Maybe it's not good, but it's an alternative option stuff, I wish. Because we're trying, but cannot just stuck with the maps, line charts, bar charts. We cannot stay there. So just do some experimental thing.
Yeah, we're trying some experimental.
So do you have any suggestion?
Oh no, I'm just here to ask questions. I don't have any suggestions. I'm just here to add more trouble to you. No, it's great work. Great work.
We love troubles because we are kind of, we just changed the game.
Yeah, that's very, very good question, and maybe we can think it over again, and we can talk about it next time we meet in New York City. So we like to talk. People question us, things like that. Yeah.
We've got a question from Juyi. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Oh, yes. Okay, let me try. Yes, actually, I always follow this project before when this just start, and I want to know. Actually, maybe like February, we talk about a lot of this, and a lot of people maybe they get some information from internet that maybe 100 years ago in China there was happened the same history, maybe like plage. This happened in dynasty. So I want to know, did you guys try to have a complex about this? Maybe because in China there is a sentence like 历史总是惊人的相似. So maybe this project can have some information about this.
So you mean you talk about the epidemic 100 years ago? Is that?
Yes, 100 years ago there is a example of plagiary, 鼠疫. This happened in Dynasty.
Yeah, I heard about it. Okay. Yeah. So you said if we want to do something for that.
I want to know if could we do this maybe like a compilation?
I think if we have the data, we can just put it in and it's.
So maybe it's hard to get the data, the real data.
Yeah, we don't know. Because this time we got help from Thomson News, and so we don't have to, in the beginning we dig it out by ourselves, 4 hours a day, for me to get the data. But thanks Thomson News, they gave us data so we can, save that effort. But for something 100 years ago, I don't know if we have that. And actually, for us, we always do this experimental things. So we want to always try new stuff, new data, not stuck in, repeat ourselves. So we kind of, we did a lot of projects, but we don't want to just repeat ourselves. So next time we may change the project, things like that. I don't know if that answered your question. Ben, you have anything?
Yes. It's not confused. I just want to know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I saw at the beginning when people were putting into the chats the books that they're reading right now. There were so many books about plagues and pandemics, and so it makes a lot of sense to me that we're going to want to start contextualizing this against other, other profound moments.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a real challenge to do that, to make those connections between them.
I think there were some interesting graphs from the 1917 flu pandemic for the US and how the individual cities differed in flattening the curves. I just found one from the National Geographic.
Okay.
But I don't know about the Chinese data availability.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, it is. And before that, the data becomes, more and more unreliable the farther back we go, and then it becomes not even a fair comparison. But it's a really interesting question about how everything will relate. So we have time for one more question. And from the chat, there's a question about how did you build this? What software did you use? What systems are you using?
Oh, it's a great question. It's right for me. We actually use D3 library for those both of the charts, the graph, the circle one and the stream graph, and so D3 plus. But D3 has a problem. I am not familiar with D3, but I only know P5.js, so I actually don't know how to use D3 for interaction. So I use D5 to control. I use D3 to make the data set, to data structure. And then I use P5 to actually control the interaction. And we also, for the backend, this is a front end. And for front end, there are also CSS, H5, those kind of thing, of course. But for the backend, it's very important. I have a Java to get the data and the cron job to make it automatically run that Java thing. And also Perl script, that's a combine of front end and back end. Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that's great. I see more and more people using D3 for just working on what's going on under the hood, but I agree that it has a lot of limitations in visual expressiveness. And so other tools jump in to complement that and do what it is you'd actually like to do, which I think you have made a very, very powerful statement in defense of why it's so important we need to depart from the status quo. So I'm going to take you up on that offer next time you're in New York and things resemble the new normal, to have that conversation and continuing that conversation, because I found your critique of the status quo of scientific visualization to be very, very powerful. And in order to do something about it, we have to call that out, and we have to make that critique known, and we also have to offer alternatives to the status quo, which you're doing here. So it's a wonderful conversation to be having, and a wonderful answer to that question through your work here. And I look forward to much more to come, and also to having that chat with you when, if and when there's a new normal.
Yeah.
So that's our time for today. I want to thank our guests again, and I want to thank everyone for coming and participating in the talk today. So in the chat and using your icons, let's express our gratitude and appreciation to Fan and Sam for being with us today and sharing their work and having such a wonderful conversation. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully see you guys in New York City soon.
Hopefully very soon. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.